各位朋友，大家好，欢迎今天来到我们的开幕座谈。在这样一个特别的时刻，能够在这里迎接艺术家 Olafur Eliasson 来到台北市立美术馆，我们感到非常开心，也非常期待。这是 Olafur 第一次在台湾举办个展，而我们很有幸成为这段好奇旅程的起点。我是台北市立美术馆教育服务组组长熊思婷。在筹备这场座谈的过程中，我们跟 Olafur 的工作室有过很多次的讨论。Olafur 将此次的座谈视为跟台湾对话、与观众交流的重要契机。因此，这次座谈并不是介绍展览，而是保留更多的时间与吴玛丽老师的对谈，以及跟台湾观众的互动。因此，今天会先由我跟大家简要的说明介绍 Olafur 的创作脉络，以及这次展览的公众计划，希望能在正式进入座谈之前，协助大家对你的好奇旅程这个展览有一个初步的认识。Olafur 在冰岛跟丹麦成长，并以他融合艺术、科学与社会关怀的创作闻名国际。他的作品经常运用自然现象与环境材料，引发观者对于感知、时间、人类和自然关系的深层思考。Olafur 的作品经常运用科学原理，转化成观者可以亲身体验与反思的感官经验。像在这次作品中，美 （Beauty） 这件作品就是使用聚光灯和源源不绝的水雾，创造出一个可以让观众看到彩虹的空间。这个装置的构造非常简单，但是它最关键的还是观众本身。每个人看到的彩虹都不同，因为那取决于你当下的位置、你移动的方式，以及光线如何进入你的眼睛。也就是说，所谓的现实其实是由你的身体与感知所定义，而这样的经验不只是个人化的，它也可能在观者之间激发出一种共同的连结与敬畏感。这就是你的好奇旅程，由你开始，也由你完成。此外，Olafur 也一再地强调观众的参与性。他认为，作品唯有在与观者相遇、被重新解读的时候才算完成。在这次展览中，你会在1楼的走廊看到一张巨大的桌子，上面堆满了白色的乐高积木。这件作品叫做《立方结构的演化计划》，邀请观众用积木共同创造出城市景观。我们很欢迎大家在座谈结束后亲自去体验一下，无论是组装出新的造型，或者是拆解、重组既有的结构，对这件作品都是不可或缺的一部分。因为这件作品的意义就是建立在协作的精神之上，并在不断的共同创造中持续演变。Olafur 曾经谈到他如何看待艺术与科学之间的关系。因为我们经常可以在他的作品中看见两者。他说自己始终以艺术家的立场进行创作，虽然非常喜欢与科学家对话，他们的观点往往会令人启发，但是双方在创作的目标和评价的标准上面其实大不相同。科学多半必须面对结果导向的限制，而艺术追求的是对未知的探索，并且愿意拥抱抽象与不确定性。因此，当我们走进展场，看到那些悬浮的光影、被自然元素包围的空间，或是一面布满苔藓的墙，艺术家想建构人们对自然的感官经验。这也正是我们在展览中希望与你一起重新认识感知、重新思考的起点。这次展览横跨整个暑假，为了呼应你的好奇旅程展览主题，并深化观众的观展经验，本次公众活动推出不同的教育推广方案， 对象涵盖亲子族群与全龄观众。我们的公众活动围绕着3个核心议题出发，分别是自然现象的观察、诗性感知与环境问题的思考与行动。这3个系列工作坊的课程带领者会带领着观众逐步进入艺术家的创作脉络和环境关怀。在设计线上共学指南、展览现场提供的自学地图，甚至是语音导览制作的过程中，我们和艺术家工作室讨论非常密切。最后的设计的目标在于引导观众发掘或信任自己的感官和感觉，所以只保留最基本的说明，仅在必要的时候针对台湾观众在文化或地理上的差异提出补充解释。今天的开幕座谈正是这档展览公众计划的一个起点。我们希望透过这些主题，带大家认识进一步 Olafur 作品中关于美学、科学、环境永续的整合性思考。今天的对谈，我们很荣幸的邀请到艺术家，同时也是国立高雄师范大学跨领域艺术研究所名誉教授吴玛丽老师担任对谈人。玛丽老师的创作致力于观念艺术与行动，并长期关注生态环境与社会参与式艺术。同时，我们也特别邀请了独立策展人、山野计划艺术总监的林怡华担任主持人。依法近年关注非典型场域与场外策展，近期重要的策展是第18届日惹双年展。我们现在就以热烈的掌声欢迎他们上台。我们请艺术家、对谈人、主持人上台，谢谢。
那各位午安我是伊娃。那先谢谢思婷组长的介绍，让我们讲座的时间可以更加充裕哦。那很感谢北美馆的很细致的策划。那今天有机会跟现场在座的各位朋友，还有2位讲者能够在这边相聚。那我们在现场看到，其实来自非常多不同领域的朋友，可以看得到这2位讲者他们所涉及到的作品的层次以及多元的面向，都可以从我们今天参与的观众们，等一下可能可以留更多的时间，让大家可以做更为多元的提问。那我想我们其实是处在一个非常充满危机、加速，还有一个碎裂的时代，尤其是台湾现在。的气候危机也好，或者是我们的政治的一个动荡的不安状况下，能够在这边和大家一起进行一个艺术的讨论，似乎已经突然变成一个很古典又奢侈的一件事情哦。但我想说，在这边我们也可以好好去理解艺术，它不单单只是一个图像的陈列哦，那它其实也可以作为一个我们本身对于伦理或存在的思考，或者说像2位讲者其实都很关注的一场对于跟现实的交涉也好，或甚至是一个对于对抗遗忘或是遗忘的时间跟记忆的一场行动哦。所以我想因为时间的关系，我就不做太多2位的基础的介绍。那我们想就请 Olafur 来跟我们开始这一场今天下午的一个对话旅程。那其实大家现在可能已经有去看过了展览的，应该有发现到，其实在作品的介绍里面，其实 Olafur Eliasson 他其实留了非常多的空白哦。那所以我其实这一个一开始想要先就这一个部分，在于某种叙事的一个弹性，或是敞开给民众更多的参与的这一个主题哦。那我想请Olafur 来跟我们分享一下，在你的艺术的实践当中，你非常关注民众的身体的经验也好，或是他们的观看的经验。那至于你而言，是否观看本身已经甚至是一场伦理的参与？那我的意思说，它是否牵扯到对于世界的一个责任
？Thank you, Eva. So also thank you for having me, and thank you for having me between such good company, Maya and Eva. I'm very happy, and for all of you to come imagine everything you could have done today instead of being here. So I'm very grateful for that. Yes, I think jumping right at it, I think there is something very profound and beautiful in the meeting up between a work of art or an artistic situation, you could call it, and a person. This is fundamental. A person and a work of art meeting up. A person is traveling through life, through the day, and the artwork is also traveling. From my studio, maybe, an old artwork has traveled hundreds of years, huh? And then you come here, if you are the viewer, and then the artwork come here. Then we need a host for this meeting. You can call this meeting a crossroad. The host can be a museum, like here. We are grateful for the hospitality of the host. And the host can also be a piece of land, can be a gallery, can be the street, can be public space, can be in the night somewhere. Today the host is a museum, and the host is doing its best to act hospitable. See, now this is a very unique situation. So what I hope to work with as an artist is the quality of this meeting. So I have three parties, right? I have my artwork, I have you, the viewer, and then I have the host. So I make my artwork in my studio, typically in Berlin, but I also talk to the host. I say, please be a nice host. Don't explain everything. Don't tell people that they are not good enough, right? Some hosts, some museums, they explain everything 10 times. And you feel when you go to the museum, you feel you know nothing. Some museums, they don't explain so much, and they allow the imagination or the experience of the viewer to flourish and to be very different. And I like that a lot. So as an artist, I both make my artwork, I talk to the host, and I imagine, who are you? Right? I'm thinking about, who are you? So I try to imagine the meeting up between my artwork and you. So in my studio, I sit and I think about the future. Because here's my artwork in front of me, and I'm going to send this to Taiwan, and it's going to meet you in 6 months. So I am making something that will happen in 6 months, or in 1 year, or in 2 years. It has not happened 6 months ago. It has not happened now. It is happening in 6 months. So creativity, or being artistically engaged, almost always is about looking to the future. And it's about listening to the future. Who are these Taiwanese people? How will I be able to meet them? Can I be generous? Can I be the one I want to be? Humanist? Can I be humble? It's very difficult for me. But can I be humble and not talk over you? How can I meet my artwork in eye level with you? So I call the host again. Make sure that eye level is possible. Don't mythologize the artist. Don't say I'm a genius, because I'm not. I am the guy from down the street. And the artist is not about the artist. It's about the art. The art is important. I am just one of you. Do you understand? That's the attitude of working in my studio when I think of the meeting up. And lastly, a meeting up is always about feeling seen, met, and heard. Seen, met, heard. Seen feels acknowledged, I'm recognized. The artwork can see me. Meet is like embodied. The art has a body. It's not like a text. Text has no body, it's a text, right? Journalism. And heard is listening. Heard is very important for me because you come to an exhibition, maybe mine, and I propose to you that you consider my artworks as listeners to you. They see you, they meet you, and they listen to you. So I like to turn this perspective around, that you become more important than the artworks. The artwork is just like a machine, or like a thing, or like something. It's not so important, but you are more important. Of course, I, as an artist, think the artworks are also important, but you know, it's just very important. If you go home from the museum and you go, someone listened to me, that moss wall, it said something I wanted to say that I had not said yet. It was as if it listened to me. That's a good meeting up. It's like when you go to a dinner party and you say what you feel and you had not said it before, and you go home and you go, I'm happy I said it. I feel listened to. And so this is somehow my focus on the quality of the experience of the artwork.
对，的确，这本身的作品可能就是为自己说话。那我们其实也可以感受到，就是Olafur Eliasson 他的作品，其实最终的一个拼块其实是观众的参与的本身。那这样子无需语言的沟通跟感知现场，我等一下接下来也想要问一个比较感知政治性的问题啊，那也可能也马老师也可以作为一个回应哦，就是说。其实现在的观看已经不是一个纯粹的自然的经验了，就是说我们观看其实是变得很熟悉，但是它是某种层面也很危险的原因，是因为我们在一个高度资讯跟高度被控制的一个状态之下，我们其实是缺乏感知的自由的，就是它其实受制于我们的背景也好，受制于权力，受制于科技的所有的状态之下。那您的作品其实邀请观众并提供观众参与的空间。那我们怎么去看待？就是不是所有人都拥有观看自由？那我们怎么样去面对这样子的一个误差也好？对，那我们真的是否有机会是重新去夺回我们的身体感，或是对于现实的这样子的一个主权哦，在这样子一个高度影像跟资讯繁杂的时代，当我们对于真实已经失去信任的状况之下，所以这个大概是也想要听听看马老师还有Olafur对于这件事的看法。先选好，让他休息一下。
我觉得在刚刚听了 Olafur 的讲法的时候，我其实是有一个比较深的感觉，是在于他的作品的形态，因为确实是非常让我想到整个包浩斯的造型训练，也就是说会非常的回到造型的基础的元素。那所谓的造型，不是只有我们视觉看得见，或者是只有我们通常在创作所应用的这个摸得到的、看得见的这个材料本身，而是我觉得它是从包浩斯之后又推到一个那个更看不见的部分哈，也就是说包含那个整个物的那个物理现象都包含进来哦。那所以其实我自己在看 Olafur 的作品的时候，我会觉得这个 因为我过去自己在艺术学院所受的教育里面，因为其实是非常受包豪斯的影响，所以我会觉得说，我从他的作品里面看到这样的一个非常基础造型训练的一个完整的一个过程。可是这个很有趣的是，其实在70年代开始，整个雕塑的发展，尤其是极限艺术，我就开始会强调空间，然后强调人进入到那个空间，那个感知作品。好，那个感知当然就会包含我们看见的，不管是那个整个那个物理性，还是这个应该怎么讲，就是那个视觉性在那个空间里面的展现。那这个当然也都成为70年代之后尤其是在西方艺术发展的一个很重要的一个新的一个面向哦。那因此我觉得在看 Olafur 的作品的时候，我确实也会有一种感觉，就是说因为刚好我是受西方的艺术的训练，好像就是比较可以用那个眼睛来看。可是另外一方面，我也确实了解在台湾的一种状态。第一个就是说，整个不管是从现代艺术到当代艺术，其实这个当然就是说台湾其实大概也都是在70之后，尤其我们美术馆是80年代成立的。那这一些东西其实某种程度的也是从西方带到台湾，那我们也慢慢在学习去观看。可是这个时候我们确实就面对一个问题，因为从西方的不管是作者或者是这个创造者而言，他们会觉得一个艺术作品就是你要自己去看，所以艺术家不需要说任何的话啊。那某种程度的，在我们的艺术学院一开始，当然就是说，因为一开始也是非常多的艺术家在当老师，所以他们也会非常主张说，艺术是不可说的啊。可是我确实是觉得，这个观看其实是一个学习认知经验的一个过程。当你学会了那一个东西的时候，你可能更能够理解它的整个那个演进，以及它如何发展成为一个艺术形式的语言呐。但是我想那个我们主持人伊娃刚刚提到的是更多是关于观看的政治。那这个观看的政治，当然我想这个跟台湾，因为我们在这种后殖民的一个状态，因为当然之前有很多的殖民的经验，我们常常会发现说，我们所看到的跟实际的是不一样，所以我们又会试着从一种观看的政治去理解一个事情哈。但是我在想，在 Olafur 的作品里面，他其实是非常诉求于就是非常现象学的，非常人的那种感官直面的那个经验的本身。那我觉得他很厉害跟很棒的地方也在于说，如何把那个不管是叫做物理现象，还是那种光学的现象，通过一个创造性的巧思，让它形塑出非常多的变化出来。那我觉得这个是他以及他们的团队非常厉害的一个地方。
That's what I said. I am in such good company here. My God, I like Marley's work so much, and I'm so proud to be on stage with her here. I'm so happy. But this was also my answer in a way. But maybe I can say that the perception, or if we broaden it and say, including the reception, experience, experience. Alvar Noe, the philosopher, says, experience does not happen to us. It's something we make. It's very important. It is something you do. Experiencing is a verb. It's not a noun. If you think about perception, and if you think about this, you have the question, how much can you experience? You have a pool of experience inside of you. For some people, the pool is full. I just cannot take more stimuli. I'm full. And you say stop. You look at the news, you read the paper, you talk to your parents, and then you know your pool is full. It can also be the pool of worriness is full. You know, your pool of worriness was full of the climate emergency. In 2007, the financial crisis come. There was a bigger worry, so the pool emptied out and just a pool of financial worries. Now, no worries for climate. We have a finite amount of experience. You know, we cannot experience everything. It's too much. There is in a way, experiences are not just neutral experiences. We are culturally, conditioned for experiences. Some people from one group, from one part of the world, who has one type of life, they experience different than another group. And even in the group, there's differences. This is very important. Experience is relative to your own engagement. And the pool can get bigger and smaller if you engage in it. So this means that a lot of what we call experience is actually not something you are granted or given. It doesn't come from anyone or anything. You create it. Even to know this gives you the choice of experiencing. And this is very important. You also have legacy conditions. It can be trauma, right? As a child, as a young person, maybe you were bullied in school, and the school was maybe painted red. You were always bullied, and if you see a red painting, you go like, oh, that reminds me. Then you can open up or you can close down, right? So experiencing and perception is a deep psychological matter. Maybe one way of describing it is like we are one river. Every one of us is a river. I like to say that because, so this river is our life. We flow. We feel today we have a good flow. Right? I'm in a good flow. I'm here with you, and I feel very lucky, privileged. I'm very grateful. My river is in a good flow. But my river also has a stone here and a stone there. So the flow has to go around the stone. Right? It's okay. My life has stones. My river has stones, but my flow is still okay. But maybe going to an art show, working with perception, I can take a stone out, and the flow gets better. You know, there is a social consciousness, or there's a social cohesion. Sometimes a whole group, maybe indigenous group, they have a big stone by the colonial forces, right? And it's not too late, it's never too late to maybe not take the stone out, but make it smaller. Or maybe make the river go the other way. So when we talk about experiences, we really talk about how am I able to feel myself? Because, and that's the last part now, we become numb. I call it mummified, like in Egypt, a mummy, right? So we mummify ourselves to protect ourselves. We become defensive. We say, oh, stop. I had enough. I don't want to think about everything. I don't want to see the news. I'm full. I am full. My pool of worries is overfull. Stop. So I become defensive. I become defensive to my friends. Yeah. I go defensive to my local society. I go, blah, 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 blah. Stop. And I become insensitive. I become numb. And I put my identity in, not in myself, but in fashion or in beauty. And suddenly, success lies in quantifiable criteria. If I get rich, I'm happy. So I work to get rich, right? But then when I get rich, I'm not happy. I say, what? What's wrong? So experience, for me, is about challenging this idea of numbness. And it's not easy. Because if you sensitize yourself, right? If you stop being defensive, you lower your defensiveness, you also open up for vulnerability. And suddenly you are facing a situation where you are vulnerable. And nobody likes to be vulnerable, except maybe we change the concept of vulnerability. And for that we need a safe space. We need a good host who says it's good, it's okay to be vulnerable. And that's the museum or the art place, the art situation. With art, you can be vulnerable and win. You can like yourself. And maybe even say, my vulnerability is my strength. I am going to be fiercely vulnerable. I'm going to be very precisely full of doubt and hesitation. And I am going to make the best hesitant person in the world. Imagine a CEO or a politician says, well, I'm very vulnerable and hesitant. I don't know exactly. And this is my politician, because he's honest, right? So with vulnerability comes honesty. And with honesty comes trust and safety. We don't trust anyone. See, so when I talk about experiences and perception, it's the beginning of this. It's not really a psychological, but it is a kind of a spiritual acknowledgement of this river. And how do we go from the river to trust? Nobody trusts each other. That is why the world looks so weird for the time being, because everyone is lying. Oh, not everyone, but on the, we three are not lying. No, but it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. I lie sometimes. I promise. The thing is, I saw yesterday in the paper, my good friend is a director of a climate institute in Potsdam, the world's biggest climate institute called the Potsdam Institute. And he's also the director of the Resilience Center in Sweden, which is also one of the biggest environmental institutes, Johan Rockström. And he's a fantastic scientist, like real environmental scientist. And he says catastrophe is gonna come soon. And he shows the science. And he spent €1 on communicating that. And every time he does that, he spent €9 to stop people saying he's lying. So more money is going into the science of truth than into the science itself. Isn't this a paradox? It's because the fossil fuel industry is creating lies, stopping the truth to get through, the lobbyism. So this is also about perception, right? The trust has to do with the courage of being vulnerable.
所以我们昨天也有聊到我们就是童年的经验也好，那我相信大家也非常好奇，所以我们也蛮好奇的，就是Olafur Eliasson他是怎么样子建构他的个人的经验，然后去产生他这样子的一个具相当宏观尺度的这样子的一个作品的脉络。那我们知道大概是那个当然说虽然大部分时间是在丹麦，但是其实你童年花了很多时间跟父亲在冰岛探索这个自然跟神话的一个记忆。那冰岛当然只是一个非常好的一个感官的实验室哦。那额外可能大家比较少知道，就是 Olafur 青少年的时候其实蛮迷恋街舞的 然后所以这个身体的经验也好，或者这个音乐性，似乎可能也构成了他对于空间的尺度，还有身体感知的一个理解的方式。那当然也是，也让他的作品某种层面也非常关注，观众怎么样子行走在他的作品，这个观众的身体的节奏，其实也在他的整个展览的一个非常的一个重要的结构里面。那想说也可以请 Olaf 可不可以简单帮我们聊聊这个时空的一个变动，它怎么样去如何去影响你跟世界之间的一个感官的连接。那当然你也可以选择跳一段来作为这个回答。那马丽老师不用担心，就是。
I'm not gonna dance. I just took off my jacket because I was warm.
我也很怕你跳舞会永远那个让你的作品逊色，这样我们也很担心。
No, they won't. No. I'm being strangulated by the cables. So now I forgot the question. No, but I want to say something. When I was a child, my parents lived apart and my father lived in Iceland. And I spent a considerable amount of my childhood in Iceland. And we had very little resources, so we just went out in nature. And that gave me a relationship with nature. Iceland is different than Taiwan. I recommend you all go to Iceland. On the 6th of August 2026, you can see a full eclipse on a glacier in western Iceland. Right there, 6th of, you can find it on the internet, eclipse. I will be there. Sorry. I learned from nature something about time, because nature is quite slow, and maybe not slow, but it's considerable slower than me. I was hiking a lot, and I have a small experiment I can recommend to you, because you have beautiful nature here, and you have mountains and so on. If you stand and you look at the landscape, sometimes maybe you recognize the idea that you can't really tell, is this mountain 2 hours walking, or is it 10 hours walking, or 20? Is it a small mountain closer by or a big mountain further away? Because we are so used to driving cars. We don't have trails anymore. So the physical metronome for walking is not a strong experience. If you become a hiker, a walker, you develop sensitivity and experiential skills for walking. If you stand and you look at the landscape and you wonder, how big is the landscape? How far away? You also wonder, how big am I? Am I a big or small? Am I an ant, a mouse, or am I an elephant? And you go like this. But then you see over there, there's a waterfall, right? Up in the mountain somewhere. And you can see the waterfall is falling like this, really slow. You go, whoa, it's a big waterfall, and it's very far away. The water shows me the distance. If it falls fast, like this, it's a small waterfall closer by. Subconsciously even, we can relate to nature much more than we think. We can see the wind in the grass, and then we say, oh, this grass it's just 10 minutes away. You know, if you pay attention, you see more. That's what Alva Noe meant. You create experiences. You just have to look, and don't take your eyes for granted. So if you know how far away the mountain is because of the waterfall, you also know the size of your body. and you also know how long time it takes for you to walk. This is what we call the relationship with nature, right? As you have worked so much with. Because we have become disembodied. We have become numb. You know, we have become defensive. Nature. I don't want to walk. I want to drive. I want to go on the high-speed train, right? It's complete the opposite of walking is the elimination of the body. So, when I became a dancer, for me, it was about understanding the physicality of space. I was a teenager, I didn't think about it this way. But I realized I was on the street and standing there, and this was 84. A lot of you were not even born. I was standing there, and then I started moving in slow motion. Then people stop and they look. And I could see that everybody looked, so there was a circle of people, and I was doing slow motion. For me, some people were walking, they were walking fast. I was normal for me. So speed is relative. So you could say I was slow motion, but for me, the others, they were extra fast. So I slowed down space. And then I could do like this, whoosh, then the houses went like this. So I could bend the space. And if I did this, then everybody did this, you know, so I could control. So a dancer with a body can somehow embody the space, all of them. So for me, dancing became about, you know, contact, about touch with my body to the space. So when I started in art school, after having been a dancer, for me, the physicality of space and the volume, the depth of space was very important. And I only found out later that my sense of spaciousness and my belief that spaciousness has, you know, many dimensions, not just 3 or 4 with time, but also has the space, the dimension of memory, the dimension of expectations, the dimension of presence. Right? There's 20 dimensions in every dimension. And for me, as a dancer, it was very clear. That's why one of the works in this exhibition here is a film of people in my studio, and in between them there are dancers. And it is to show that everything in the studio is a kind of a embodiment exercise, a dance somehow. And yeah, I will dance for you later, not now. Next time.
We will save some time for you to dance. 对，刚刚其实 Olafur 也有提到，就是身体的节奏跟这个空间的这个关联性。那当然他的作品里面其实有更大空间地景结构的，或是甚至是地质经验的超越人类时间经验，是比较是贴近 deep time 地质时间的连续跟断裂的这样子的一个讨论哦。那有一个问题，因为我们马老师也是哦，其实我们都非常关注。就是人类怎么样去建构跟自然之间的关联性。那当然，在 Olafur 的作品里面，他非常擅长使用这些自然元素，不管是冰川啊、光或者是雾，把它转换成为一种空间经验。然后我接下来这个问题，其实是我个人其实也是蛮困扰的，就是说在目前我们艺术家将这个自然转换成为一个艺术语言的时候，某种也面临到一个自然象征化的一个危险啊，跟风险。那额外另外一块是在这个高度商品化的一个经济消费的时代，我也蛮好奇是Olafur 你会不会担心你的作品会被民众去误解成为某种视觉奇观？对，那额外我也想要请教马老师，我们到底应该怎么样去区分？作品它是某种层面的一个诗意的沉浸，还是说它是一个消费的奇观？这当然是可能我们现在在面对 作品已经非常多元化的一个状态下，我们到底要怎么去区别这两个不一样的一个感官经验？
We live in times where there is a strong presence of, you could say, spectacular or spectacularism. My first artwork was called Beauty, or one of the first artworks called Beauty. And I thought about beauty has been taken over by the beauty industry. What should I do? I just take it back. I insist I can take it back. Why should I give beauty away to the beauty industry? The spectacular, there is the spectacular economy. There is the so-called conspicuous economy too, right? It's a very subversive idea, you know, where you buy something just to show you have it. You don't really need it. So spectacularism has been commercialized. But then again, Iceland, the glacier, it's spectacular. It's fantastic. I love it. So what do? I take it back. And my spectacular is stronger, better, and more important than the commercial spectacular. Because the commercial spectacular only does it for money. And people will find out, they did not do it for the spectacle. They just did it for money. That's called capitalism, right? You know, what I think is interesting is there is always the honesty and the choice, as I said before. When I took glacier ice from Greenland and I put it in Paris during the COP15, big ice blocks, it was quite spectacular. But Paris is very spectacular. So, you know, 1 week before, there had been a terror attack in Paris, in a nightclub where there was a shooting. It was horrible, but it was quite spectacular. It was in the news everywhere. The Paris government, the mayor of Paris, called me and said, we will do it anyway. That is spectacular. She didn't say, let's cancel, because now we have different situations. No, she said, let's do it. Even more. Let's be spectacular. So spectacular is when there is the presence and honesty about emotions, it can be a very strong thing. When people came to see the ice, they look from a distance. My God, this is ice. What is ice doing in Paris? And then they walk closer. My God, the ice is blue, turquoise. Wow. And then they look close, and then they touch the ice. They go, ooh, it's cold. It's very interesting, right? They knew it was ice. The brain knew it was ice. But the body was not really thinking that it was a piece of cold. Wow. And then they give it a hug. Oh, ice from Greenland. COP, climate crisis. And they go, oh, I'm wet. Because the ice is melting, huh? I get wet. So you have mental knowledge, and then you have physical knowledge, muscle memory, somatic knowledge, somatic memory, right? Ice, everybody know about, but nobody knows. Because nobody go to Greenland, or to the glacier, to the South Pole. Do you have any glaciers here? No, it's too hot.
In the mountain, 4,000.
Yeah, 4,000. You have one?
Yeah.
One?
I mean, the snow cover the mountain.
Is it? It's not really a glacier. It's okay. I like you anyway. We have 280 glaciers in Iceland. It's not a competition, I know. So the physical feeling of meeting glacier ice, because inside of the glacier ice, I just have to be a little granular. The spectacular. There are small bubbles of air. the small bubble, and the glacier has been pressured for thousands of years, 15,000 years, pressure. So when the ice melts, the bubble come out, and it's like popcorn. Because the pressure was so high, the bubble was small. So you go like, my God, there's a sound. It's like popcorn. And inside these small bubbles, there's a little bit of air from 15,000 years ago. And it's very cold. Because it's cold, if you have in the ice is like this, here, the air goes in. So you can put your nose and you can sniff 15,000 years older. You can smell it. Wow. This is spectacular. It's like fantastic, right? And it's cold, and then you go like, oh my God, in 5 days, this is gonna go into the cloac of Paris. All this clean water, the cleanest water in the world, will go into the sewers of Paris. So this is very emotional, and that makes the spectacular human, because you have dehumanizing or you have humanizing spectacular. And if you are honest, it is generally humanizing. It is, as I said before, listening to you.
我想刚刚伊娃的问题关于奇观，其实一方面我想也是跟台湾的经验是有关的，因为我们其实每一个城市到处都在办艺术节，所以这个意思是说，除了在美术馆或者画廊里面我们可以看到一些艺术作品之外，其实我想一般大众更多接触所谓的艺术的机会，其实可能是在街头或者公共艺术，也就是说各个城市办的艺术节或者是公共艺术作品啊。那以艺术节来说，那更是这种状态，因为它其实当然是非常的观光，吸引大众来这里参观的为取向，所以有时候这种艺术作品的奇观化，反而是在台湾是一种普遍的现象，或者是一个显学了啊。那有时候其实相对而言，确实在美术馆里面，或许可以做比较所谓的比较纯粹的艺术，也就是说，比较纯粹诉诸于感官，甚至于就是说能够有比较好的设备或者场所，让观众可以在那边好好体验一个作品的时候。可是确实，如果我们回到刚刚其实在讲那个刚刚 Olafur 在谈那个冰岛的那个冰的经验，这个其实是让我想到4月开始在台湾，其实在 YouTube 大家都可以看到有一个纪录片叫《冰的颜色》。那里面就会对冰的颜色、声音就有很详细的描述啊。那我觉得我看那个片子的时候，我觉得很有意思的是，包含那个导演跟其中的那个男主角，就在应该是在格陵兰的一个居民，他来台湾。然后他对台湾的第一个经验就是说因为他从来他的一辈子没有看过树。因为那边都是冰天雪地，所以是没有树。所以我看到他的发言，我就觉得很惊讶。就是说，树是我想在台湾每一个人到处都是树，不管是巷子边啊、角落啊，到处都看得到。可是他是这一辈子，他应该是有40-50岁吧，是没有看过树。这件事情其实还蛮让我惊讶的。那我想那种惊讶就很像来自冰天雪地的人。会觉得我对台湾很惊讶，我们很多人没有看过雪，或者当然没有看过那个冰层的那种状态，也不知道冰的声音到底是怎么样啊。所以当然所谓的奇观是一种相对而言，所以我想刚刚 Olafur 谈的一个很重要的一个重点就是说，奇观有时候也许是必要的，但是奇观的后面的诉求到底是什么，或者是说到底这个奇观是要把大家带往哪里去啊？那我觉得其实刚刚从 Olafur 在谈的时候，其实我一直会想到杜威他就是有 Art as Experiences， 就是其实就是我们的整个基础教育都要学 美术的一个非常重要的一个根源，就是杜威所制定的整个那个基础，所谓的公民基础教育，我们就要开始学美术哈。其实应该是说广义的艺术啦。那他其实在那边谈的，也就是说艺术作为一种经验，那个经验是人开始透过不管是你的肢体或者你的各种感官，去重新去认识世界，或者是更深入的去理解这个整个世界的那个千变万化的这个东西哦。但是如果回到刚刚的这个关于那个那个看冰的这个行动，我比较好奇的就是说，因为我看到那个其实因为我们在美术馆展览里面，我们看到作品，我觉得都比较是属于整个那个 Oliver 他们工作室的比较小型的作品。可是这个小型不是不重要，而是它是一个基础模型。但是我觉得很棒的是，它创造了很大的空间给观众，也就是说，观众必须要去不断的去跟这个作品互动，自由的在那边行动，去理解那个作品它其实要传达的那个重要的那个跟我们感官互动的关系啦。但是我觉得它有很多大型的作品，其实某种程度对我来说也是蛮奇观化的哦。但是我更好奇的是说，那个背后那个被我认为是有一点奇观性的这一些作品的背后的意涵，例如说他在丹麦美术馆做的那个整个那个外墙玻璃帷幕，然后今天其实刚刚也听到他们其实也有，因为我跟他谈到那个树梅坑溪这个作品，然后他谈到说，其实他们跟瑞士有合作过一个作品，它是因为那个美术馆的周边刚好有一条小河，所以他们是把那个河流是引进到美术馆里面，所以我会更想听到说，这一些对我来说其实是还蛮奇观化的一个作品，它背后可能有他想要传达的东西。
I was about to talk in this one. So, thank you for bringing that to. So I have worked a lot with the architectural scale. I have been fortunate to make some buildings. If anybody needs a building, I can make it. And but I'm a very difficult architect because I don't negotiate about anything. So that is why I'm called an artist. Imagine if a painter, Monet, people ask, why did you put a green water lily there? One say, the client wanted it there. Then the painting would be worth less money. It's nice, huh? It's good to be an artist. You don't want to make the building less valuable, so you stay quiet. And I do your building. No, I'm saying it because space has a way to hold your body, but also your way of seeing. I talked about the senses, our senses, seeing, hearing, before, and how they are historically they are conditioned. If you, like indigenous people, grew up in a different, maybe in a jungle, your spatial sense of depth would be different, because you look at things different. You would have a different color perception. I'm very interested in architecture because sometimes architecture can deconstruct, or it can take away the way our senses are locked into a model. In Europe, and also here, I would say, less here, but in Europe, you have what in the Renaissance was discovered and called the central perspective. Central perspective is a vanishing point at the horizon, and then you have the lines, and that shows that if you make a small house, it is far away, a big house is closer by. So suddenly you had space in painting. So you had medieval painting, Hieronymus Bosch, two-dimensional, right? You know, one tree here, far away, the same size. Then Bartolomeo, no, well, the Renaissance came, and then they said the one tree here is smaller than here. It looks like it's depth. Theater, stage design changed, architecture changed, everything changed. And central perspective today, has been cultivated for 1,000 years now into a system. So when we look, we use the central perspective. Our eyes has been conditioned. In medieval times, when you saw a garden, you did not know central perspective. Who knows how they looked at the garden? We cannot see that anymore. We cannot re-see that because our eyes has been cultivated. We cannot unsee Renaissance. In Japan, and of course out of China, you had the horizontal perspective. No, the vertical perspective it's called, right? You have the tush, the ink drawings, this mountain, the clouds, and that. There's no vanishing point. That's why in architecture in Japan, up until the 70s, you worked with an exploded or folded view of a house. Floor plan, wall, 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 roof, 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 chimney out here. In Western architecture, you say wall, house, in three-dimensional drawing, and you make a cut. So there are different ways of seeing. See, now my interest in space, if we now make a round space, and we have no straight lines, no horizontal, no vertical, in a sphere, you go like, there is no vanishing point. How can I see how big the sphere is? I know this is a little abstract. I hope it's not too unclear. So I've been interested in architectural ideas that criticizes the modern obsession with efficiency, economical profitability, rationalism, because it is not good for our senses, right? The way that there was a hierarchy of beauty from classicism through Palladio villas. Oh, Palladio. But in a way, it was a stereotyping of sensational relationships. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so technical. So I like round spaces, for instance. So on the top of a museum in Denmark, I made a round glass corridor with no columns inside. It's called your rainbow panorama. So it's not like corner, corner, corner. No, you just keep walking. It's infinite. Like the spiral jetty, infinite, right? And the principle of infinity. And when you stand here in the, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can show a picture of it. It's maybe a little unfair to describe it. But anyway, it's a glass corridor with the glass is in the colors of the spectral of the rainbow, right? There's a blue to purple to red to orange to yellow to green to blue. Right? It's a circle. And you can walk inside. If you're in the blue and you want to change color, what do? You walk. So you are seeing with your feet. So there's a motoric and visual connection. Motoric, I mean walking, right? See now, this I could talk about forever, and I won't. But these are the bigger projects. They are in a way also doing the same as the small projects, yeah. But they have physical components. And if you want a house, I can do one in Taiwan, so we don't have to sit and talk about something you can't see. Oh yeah, I will mention the river. Yes, I have often worked with the river and the idea of the river. Most recently, I made a Louisiana. It was shown in Brisbane, Australia. In Europe, I always think Brisbane is close to you, but it's not at all. It's like very far away from you also. A riverbed. I talked about the river earlier. For me, the river of life is such a strong metaphor. In Switzerland, there is a small museum called Kunsthaus Zug. There's a small river, and normally the river would run, but now they built a museum, so they made the river go around the museum. But my exhibition was to make the river go through the museum, so I built a channel in the window and in and down the stairs and out again. So the river, I think, is a form of life. The river is the idea of life turbulence, and there's so much energy in that for me. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I have, as in various ways, worked with rivers. I have dyed rivers green, also. Yeah.
其实的确，Olafur 还有非常多各式各样的计划，就是不只是牵涉在关于艺术、建筑，然后科学，然后社会行动。其实我比较大的疑问是，我觉得他有可能是生化人，因为他其实事实上做了非常多的计划。然后我现在也有大概还有800个问题想要问他。我想说，我们时间的关系，我们现在大概20分钟，我们可以先，老师如果可以的话，我们先把时间可以留给观众们做一些难得的提问。他其实明天就要飞回去柏林了，对。然后所以如果美术馆的同仁可以协助帮忙，这边有一个朋友的提问。
哎，这样有声音好。刚才其实一直提到感官跟经验，然后还有发现，就是自然里面的美，或者是发现一些在里面的现象。那我想要问，就是在发现或者是在体验到这些事情之后，Olafur，你要怎么转化这些感官的东西成为一件作品？然后我还有第二个问题是，就是造访台湾之后，因为台湾也是一个岛屿嘛，就是跟冰岛一样，但是又很不一样。所以在造访台湾之后，有没有发现什么新的东西，然后想要融入未来的作品之中？
I think that one thing is what I can do with my new sensory experiments. Right now I am working with different scientists on small aspects of different experiences. I am very interested for the time being in a Danish anthropologist who works with surprises. I'm mostly interested because I do not understand what he's doing. How can you be a scientist who is researching surprises? That is very surprising. So I follow my instinct. There is a Canadian environmentalist scientist who's called Natasha Myers. She's an artist and biologist. Bruno Latour, the philosopher, called this kind of people STS, Science Technology Studies. This is people who are educated both in social science, natural science, and culture, art, for instance. She's a dancer, microbiologist, and she studies First Nation indigeneity in Canada. So anthropology of sorts, First Nation, microbiology, and a dancer. I like that combination of knowledge because in the Western world, everything has been very compartmentalized. You know, we have natural sciences, and that is disconnected from social sciences. But of course, social science and natural science should be connected. Who are the best at that? Well, Chinese medicine, it's interesting, or shamanism. It's a combination of many things. To be a shaman is about seeing things in ways one cannot see, is to see things new all the time. A good example, and I will get to your question, a good example is that where I grew up, we would say there is a horse on the field, the grass. there's an object on the real estate. There's an object on the real estate, that's good. The shaman, he says, the grassiness of this earthiness is expressing itself through a horsiness. I wonder how the translator took that. But you know, so it's all relations. If you know Latour, Bruno Latour, the philosopher, he got close to something like that in his actor network theory. It's a kind of a dynamic dimension. Huh? There's also what is called object-oriented ontologies, the triple O in philosophy, which are a kind of critique of phenomenology and Western sort of philosophies generally, by introducing let me say, the example is good to say Timothy Morton, Graham Harman, Donna Haraway, like this. The philosophers who are talking about a more holistic way of everything influencing everything. This table here, I thought it was made of stone, but it is fake stone, but it is glass. This glass is made out of silicium glass. Right? Silicium is sand. This was sand on a seabed. The sand is sanding into a table that is tabling. So when I work with how to re-see the senses of the world, getting back to your question, then I work with how do I not see the glass? How do I see the sand? And in a million years, maybe this will be sand again. This is the interesting thing. It's not a table. Yeah, today it's a table. Yesterday it was sand, and tomorrow it's sand, right? Let's not focus on objectifying the horse on the field. So now I take this information. I read Donna Haraway. Or you can Robin Wall Kimmerer braiding sweetgrass. So fantastic. Or Anna Chin about mushrooms, fungi. You take that knowledge into your studio and you go like, this is not just glass. So the artistic element is not the material, but it is the consequences of using the material. If I use copper, the copper comes from a copper mine. That's the meaning of copper. It's not just red and warm. No, copper comes from somebody who extracted it probably from Congo and shipped it to Belgium and shipped it to Berlin, to my studio. So how can I use copper without taking into consideration the journey from the mine to my studio? So I don't use copper. Or I make a project about the mines. So in this way, my experiences, by changing my analytical way of experiencing, I change my use of materials in my life. I know that sand is becoming a scarcity. It's difficult to get sand now. So now Namibia, which has a lot of sand, are selling sand to China. Why do China need sand? It's because they want to expand Shanghai. So Shanghai expansion is paid to Namibia for sand to send to China. It's like crazy. It's completely crazy. But they need the sand. So glass is political. The meaning of glass has become political. I made a sculpture in Tokyo with zinc for the Mori Center Azerbaijan Hills. This sculpture was made out of zinc that I harvested from the air. Because today it is cheaper to take zinc that the cars and the factories put in the air respiratory very bad, and to harvest that in and make a sculpture, it's cheaper than to go to the zinc mines and get the zinc from the ground. Isn't that interesting? And about 20 years ago, the world, the mining association of the world said there is more copper above ground than below ground. It's interesting, right? Copper is in all the cables. You know, this is copper here. There's more copper above ground than below ground. So the mining has shifted to here. So using copper is changing also. Do you understand? So there's many ways of, we can talk about the sensation of the material. It's a warm material. It's nice. Copper is beautiful. But also there's the political meaning of copper, where it mines the profitability and the political sort of conflicts out of copper. Belgium used to colonize Congo. Congo still is not owning its own copper mines. You know, Congo has been decolonized now since the late 60s, but the copper mines are still Belgium. And they're very extractive. So I don't necessarily work so much in this kind of political way with materials, but I'm conscious of it. So when I make artworks, I use that. That was me. But more importantly, what do you do? When you are in an exhibition and you feel comfortable lowering your defensiveness, and I'm not saying, I'm saying I understand you're defensive. Don't worry. I'm not calling you defensive. No, I understand. I would be too, or I am too, because otherwise it's too much. You lower your defensiveness because you're in a safe space. You feel safe. Okay, I'm not going to. Then you become more vulnerable. And you're still like, ooh, hopefully nobody's attacking me. But that's okay, you're safe. If you become more vulnerable, you become more honest. I'm anxious, or I'm in love. You know, we don't normally say that. I might say, I'm in love, but you know, we don't normally say to people, I'm not doing so well. I don't know what to do. Why? I'm not happy. Or we don't say, you know, I'm working on this and that and so on. So now you are in a safe space and you're more vulnerable, then you become more honest. If you're more honest, you also build more trust. I said it before, right? And this is how you can, you know, it's not just about your senses. Your senses is just the channel to connecting yourself to the world. It's very hard to connect yourself to the world if the world just wants your money. The world goes like, hi. So you want to look good? You want to look good here? Buy these shoes. And then you buy the shoes, and then you're still not happy. You go like, what the fuck? I thought I would be happy when I got the shoes. Happy for 5 minutes. So the senses is really about checking your own values. Are you living by, are you walking the talk? No, talking the walk, yeah.
Probably you would like to add something to about creativity, because her question focused more on how you...
Okay, yes. Okay, creativity, yeah, thank you. No, so, yeah, the creativity part. I'm sorry, I forgot. Let me say, there is the mythological idea of the artist being creative. And it used to be like, I put my glass here and say, wow, that's creative. No, this is creative. Composition. But today, that's different with regards to the senses and so on. Now, when you make a work of art, you do 1,000 steps. From the first sketch, intuition, or like highly intuitive, gut feeling, until the pragmatic, the pragmatic, it's going to be 2 meters, like pragmatic. Red or blue, so one choice. Metal or wood, laying, standing, all these choices. From first sketch, you get an engineer to make a model. No, you pick a paper model, you pick a big model, small model. You talk to the funder. I have no money, who will pay for this? And step. This is the creative process, right, of making a work of art. And there's the viewer somewhere here, and there's the, and all the studio team is working on it. The creative process. See now, choosing step number 455, red or blue here, red or blue. Is that a creative choice? No, it's not. It's a formal choice. That's about how to make the sculpture. What is creativity? Creativity is why, not how. So you always, in creativity, take how and you ask why. And if you know why, it goes quite fast, right? So what is important here is that creativity is not to make the sculpture. No, the creativity is the consequences onto the world making the sculpture has. So this means I say blue or red, well, blue, in the future this happens, red, in the future this happens. I take blue, because that's my why, right? So creativity is not in the studio, it's in the relationship between the studio and the world. Yeah, it's about the frictional, oppositional, the sort of activism, if you want. It's about the conflicts you have with the world once you are making what you're making. So creativity is constantly changing every day, because the world is changing. The same work is meaning something else the other day. Was that the answer? Yeah, thank you.
我的问题，我的好奇啊，在北美馆这么大的一个展厅里面，尤其在 lobby， 我只想知道为什么他只选了一个表现气流的小风扇，因为我很期待在伦敦泰德的 Weather Project。
不好意思，我想请问一下，就是说，因为老子《道德经》里面有一句话是讲人法地，地法天，天法道，道法自然。那这个没有，这个其实我们大家都对华人或者是台湾人、东方人来说，这是一个很容易理解的概念，就是说我们与自然相处的关系。那我觉得，我不晓得，因为像 Olafur 的作品，其实我感觉对台湾观众来讲，应该是比较容易理解跟沟通的。那可是因为他刚刚自己也有提到中医这件事，所以我第一个好奇是说，他有没有对中国的典籍或者是中医有一些理解跟研究？那再来就是因为其实自然有它的规律，但是自然不是我们人为可以控制的。但是在 Olafur 的作品里面，他会用一个其实好像看起来也不是好像，就是的确看起来就是一个很精准的方式去呈现作品。那他怎么去看待这个收放还有控制与精准？谢谢。
好，想先谢谢那个埃利亚松先生做的一切。那因为在您的作品当中，经常可以感受到，就是透露出对这个世界的关怀跟理解。那我想要请教的是说，不知道他偶尔会不会感受到，觉得对人类未来感到悲观？那这会如何影响你的行动？谢谢。
感谢今天有机会参加这次那个研讨会。然后因为2016那时候有参加 Olafur 的一个 Little Change 的比赛，然后那时候就是拿到 Little Sun 这个的纪念品。然后我一直有一个疑问，因为这道光芒我一直有一点纳闷，因为在我们这种富足的地方，就好比说在台湾，但是它是一个艺术计划，它需要捐献给另外一个非常非洲的地方。但是我有时候一直在怀疑说，我们在一个富足的国家，怎么去转换自身的环境，去感受别的不同的情境，好比说去救助或救助其他的地点。但是我一直在纳闷，在台湾或是其他各个国家的任何一个创作者，他怎么转换自身的环境，去表达说对这样的一件事情的关怀。
Yeah, good question. So you will help me remember. Yeah. The ventilator in the first room. For me, the ventilator is a weather system. it's a wind, you know, and it is something you could have done yourself at home. You just need a ventilator and a string. It's very nice to look at also. When it is colder, it swings more because cold air has higher mass. When you stand under it, some people, your body generates heat for about 80 watt. And the heat goes up. And if you stand there for long enough, the ventilator sort of is less active. So it's a little bit like a weather system, the wind. And it's unpredictable. It goes this way, then it goes this way, then it goes this way. So you don't know where it's going. And children love it because it's like unpredictable. And okay, now I'm taking pictures. I better sit down. So I, you know, to do the weather project or something like that would be nice. I can do that next time. But this was an opportunity to also do something very small in a very big space. And it's almost like to say this little insect is important for the whole space. And what the ventilator shows is not the space, it's the air of the space. The air which is everywhere in the space. It makes not the architecture clear, it makes the negative volume or the volume of air inside clear. And of course the air is what we breathe. Right? So I thought that was very interesting as a beginning. And the next question was? Yeah, I have now and then been more close to Chinese philosophy. I've tried to understand, and I have studied some psychology and the Jungian psychology in particular, but I don't consider myself close enough to Chinese. I mean, I have a Chinese philosophy teacher. He lives below me in Berlin. His name is Ai Weiwei. And he sometimes comes up to my house, into my house, and goes into my fridge and takes things. And then he lay on my sofa to take a nap. I say, "Oh, are you here?" "Yeah, I ate your food," he said. "Oh," I say, "will you teach me Chinese?" "Yes." "Come, let's make Chinese tea for me," he says. Then, so through Ai Weiwei, I have come to understand things that I could never read in a book. And of course, Ai Weiwei, he also loves being critical. And he also is very critical of love. So it's a good teacher, because you're never finished. Of course, I know of Chinese medicine, as in Europe, that is the primary alternative to what the Western doctor does. The Western doctor is a sales outlet for the pharma industry, typically, right? So you have the pharma industry, and the doctors, they are just promoting the pharma industry. And never, you know, there's no shamans who can combine things. So Chinese medicine is often used as an example for a more holistic approach. That's as little, and I have many friends also in across Asia who has introduced to me more healthy ways of seeing things. And the next question was, oh, negative moment. Is that what you asked? Have I encountered negative moments in my life? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Now I see. Yeah. It's funny. I thought you asked something else. Oh, yes. I think, has anybody not experienced any negative moment? I think I have 3. There were maybe 4. 3 very negative. And only by the third one, I understood I can work with grief. And one was my father died very suddenly. That was very traumatizing, very sad. And I did not want to be sad. And so that was a difficult period. No, it was not a difficult period because I just became defensive and I pretended nothing happened. Much later in life, I accepted my sadness over this loss. Another one was my son became very sick, like very sick. I almost thought I would lose him. And that was very traumatizing also. And it was so disruptive for everything I believed in. And the third one, a close person to me, was threatening to take her life. Can you hear it? So anyway, so these kind of situations, they influence your life. And you know, we plan our life in straight lines, but we live it in curves. Ismail Marcos said that, I'm afraid. So in that way, I have plenty of negative. I had the good fortune to work with good people. People in my studio, many of them has been with me for more than 20 years. And they still do not get older. It's fantastic. And the same, I have worked with the same two gallerists my whole life. And I never changed gallerist because they did well for me. One is sitting right here. If you want to buy a work of art, it's him. No, so I have two things I'm good at, and that's only two things. I'm good at finding good people. My therapist told me to say that. And the other thing I'm good at is I'm good at art. I have done well for myself. My therapist also told me to say that. So I accept the negative experiences. Also the ones from my childhood which were traumatizing. I took these rocks out of my river. Now the Little Sun project, I once made a small solar lantern, this big. I designed it together with a solar engineer. Both the solar engineer and I had traveled in Africa. And you know, Africa is very close to Europe. If you are in Oslo, here, and you go to Rome, the same distance, you're in the middle of Africa. That's how close it is. So Africa is next door. It's our neighbor. Of course, in the news, it's like a big wall, it's far away. Once I did a party in Milano at a mall, and we were partying to sell some Little Sun to bring them to Africa. And then I did a party in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to celebrate the setting of the lamp. And in the party in Ethiopia, one person said, "Oh, I want to come to the party in Milano. I want to go." He said, "Well, okay, you can come." But in Milano, they said, "No, he's from Africa. It's so far away." So the perception of Africa seen from Milano is much bigger than from Milano to Ethiopia, is much bigger than from Ethiopia to Milano. But Ethiopia to Milano is very close. What I'm trying to say is that the perception of a distance to Africa is only a cultural construction. Africa is our brothers and sisters, and they are just around the corner. The Little Sun project, I have since then left. I was a founder, and it is still living on, but after 12 years, I felt I had done what I could with it, and now I'm not involved, but it's a fantastic project. It was seed funded by the London Olympics, and they say we want a work of art, a kind of a weather project. I say, okay, I make the Olympic torch for everyone who cannot come to the Olympics. So I made the design, Little Sun, solar energy, life, sun, power, empowerment. Wow. That's how it started. And then the Olympics said, no, that's not the weather project. Yeah, it's a decentralized weather project. You know, in Africa, when there's everybody wants a torch. The London Sebastian fucking Coe, he said, no, I'm sorry, sir. The Olympics, they said, no, we don't like that. We don't want people from Africa. Oh my God. They also win the marathon the whole time. We don't want that. So we split, but I took the money. And I made an NDA with them. So you didn't hear what I just said. Right? And, but that's actually how it started. It was a lot of money also. The Olympics, they're so rich, all the sponsors and so on. Was there more questions? No? I'm sorry, this is I think I have to say something. This is getting a little too lightweight for me. I think it's very important to say what we are talking about is also something deep and real, right? And I just want to acknowledge that all of us, we have a need for being seen and met and heard. And it's deep. Because we go through life and we hope that we have a purpose in life. Right? We hope that life matters. And the purpose, of course, there's a purpose for every day, but we also need a deeper purpose, like a deep and spiritual purpose. To arrive at that with the right feelings and with the right mindset, you cannot, or we cannot sit and wait. It is something we have to do to arrive at this sense of purposefulness. Because we go up and work every day and we do our things every day and so on, and suddenly 10 years went by. So I also just want to embrace the fact this is also what we're talking about, the deep need for making sense. And if you're not happy, you have to say it to your husbands, or to your wife, or to your partner, or to, you have to say, I'm not happy. And that's okay. Conflict is not a problem. It's a beginning of a solution, right? So the museum, I think, is a place where you can feel safe to do that. And I think I said it before, but I cannot emphasize enough that as much as I am just having a nice, good time, and I'm so flattered by all of you being here, I also want to say there is something that is very serious as well about this. And I wish it was me, but it's not. It's the art. I'm just the guy from down the street.
OK， 我想因为刚刚有我们在场的观众就问到关于那个创造性这部分啊，那我觉得很棒的是。刚刚其实听到 Olafur 谈到非常多的哲学家，不过他最重要的当然也在于说，这一些哲学家其实因为刚好 Eva 就是2020的台北双年展的共同策展人嘛，那时候就是 Bruno Latour 也是共同策展人之一，他那时候就提那个万物议会的概念。那我想这里最重要的就是跟刚刚 Olafur 他刚刚谈到就是那个关系性，也就是说在这个宇宙大地里面所有的万物，它其实是彼此依存的那个关系。所以我想他刚刚其实 实蛮提醒我们一个东西，就是说，我们如何有一个比较清醒的觉知，去感知到所有关系之间的那个关联，也就是说，重新去探问所有事物背后的那个关系。那也许就在那种重新探问的过程里面，其实我们可能就会找到那个创造的力量所在哈。那我觉得这个是我刚刚听他说的地方，我觉得是当然非常同感的一个部分。跟另外一部分，我觉得他谈到比较多的，其实是跟就是我们感知跟伦理的那个关联呐。也就是说，那个伦理是在于说，我们又如何重新能够很诚实的去面对自己。所谓诚实面对自己，就是说我们如何真的能够打开我们的感官，去感知到这个所有发生在我们的眼前或者周围的一切。哈，那我觉得那个诚实面对以及相互信赖，我觉得这可能是在这个 Olafur 的这个展览里面，以及他刚刚的谈话里面，我觉得其实也正好是在我们几次，因为在北美馆从2014年做那个重力加速度的展览，然后到我共同策划的后自然，以及Eva策划的那个我们不在同一个星球是说的那个 Bruno Latour， 这3个展览其实是非常密集的把环境的议题带到我们的那个观众之前。那我觉得就是这3个展览其实也都是在唤醒我刚刚提到的，就打开感知，还有那种相互的信赖以及相信知己。
那因为时间关系，我们很感谢大家今天的参与。那我相信那个 Olafur 的作品其实也提醒我们，就是他的展览绝对不是关于一个观看的经验而是他是希望我们去直视那些曾经被我们忽略的这种感官的这个结构。那当然，这个气候问题不是只有在所谓的全球北方那我们这些危机其实就在我们现场正在发生，所以我们也很期待大家在观看作品的时候，并不是仅限于我们视觉的感官感受，更去体会到Olafur Eliasson 他想要去传达那个背后。我们到底怎么样去重新连接我们跟自然关系，或甚至是进一步的去采取更多的行动。那谢谢大家今天的参与，然后我们也再次感谢 Olafur Eliasson 还有吴玛雅老师，今天为我们带来的分享。对。
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope you don't feel you wasted your time. Thank you so much.